Welcome to the Texas Oil and Gas Podcast, the show dedicated to bring you the news from the oil patch deep in the heart of Texas, with your hosts, Ryan Ray and Josh Shelton.
And we're back with the Texas Oil and Gas Podcast. This is episode 145. I'm your host, Josh Shelton, my friend and co-host, Ryan Ray. Ryan, I'm starting to wonder if that 5-star review I did was a bad idea.
You know, it's our third year of doing this, 3-year anniversary on the show today.
Happy Texas Independence Day, everybody.
Yeah, Texas Independence Day, Texas Oil and Gas Podcast Day. And, last week we talked about the stress of tax season, and I'm trying to finish my taxes up now. And we asked for roast. And Jimmy from Oklahoma.
Old Jimmy.
He brought the wood. So, Nate, if you could do the honors, please tell everyone what
hey, do we want to do good news before bad and read the other review we got in?
Oh, yes. We did get one from T. Brinkley 81. Just found your podcast, really enjoying it. If you ever want a drilling contractor, let us know. Trevor Brinkley with Neighbors Drilling. Trevor, reach out to Nate the Great Hansen, and I'm sure he will get you on the show at some point. So thank you, Trevor, for that. And reach out to Nate, and his information is in the show notes.
Okay.
So, Jimmy from Oklahoma.
Now for Jimmy.
Now, we did ask for this.
We did. We brought this on ourselves.
And we did say if you let the 5-star review, you could update your 5-star review and roast us. We did say that as well.
Yep, we did. So
we'd hope for a few more 5 stars.
Maybe Jimmy will serve as a leader.
He's the leader of the clubhouse right now. He's the top dog.
He's the roast king.
He set the bar high, folks.
The icebreaker. So let's get at this. So listeners, you'll recall that the last time that Jimmy left us a review was for the Polar Plunge, and at that time he said that Ryan is a podcasting god. The title of this particular review is Ryan is no longer a podcasting god. He has been cast down from his throne there. And the review reads as follows. I met with Ryan the other day, and he told me that he enjoyed making podcasts, but that his producer didn't know a soundboard from his skinny hemorrhoidal rear end, which was kind of mean of him, no matter how accurate it was. Of course, Ryan isn't that big of a bully, but then we all know that he has such a muddy voice and a low-voltage intellect that he has to compensate somehow when his relentless pursuit of bigger and even bigger microphones, I do not know why he does this, maybe somebody can tell me, fails him.
Hold on. Let's just interject here. Never mind. I'm not even going to go ahead. Go ahead. Keep on.
Congratulations, Jimmy. You left Ryan Ray speechless.
Is that the end of it, Nate?
No.
No, keep going,
no,
please.
you wish it was,
Please go.
Josh. Not that his co-host does him any favors, either. Josh Shelton is a byword out here in the scoop for sounding like he just drank a whole bottle of Windex and for the fact that you can hear him scratching his beard all the time. Somebody get that guy a beard lice treatment. Also, Josh can't pronounce a single word that isn't Anglo-Saxon in origin. We tested this the other day by asking him to send us a recording of himself saying Cinco de Mayo. The thing we got back sounded like a buzzsaw seizing on a knot in a piece of Scotch pine mixed with the scream of a bonobo.
Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco de Mayo.
Cinco de Morta. Of course, when these things aren't a problem, this is the best podcast in the oil and gas industry. Nobody can argue that.
I just want to say there are bigger mics out there than mine. I'm aware of that, and I've come to live with it. So, just wanted to get that out there. That it's a long process, but I have not gotten a bigger mic in a long time because it's just at some point you just got to live with the size of microphone you have. So. Thanks for telling everyone, Jimmy. Appreciate that.
Well, in other news, Monday.
You want to talk about your portion of the review? You didn't want to.
You said you sounded like a bonobo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, Cinco.
He pegged me on the beard scratching. I do that. So, apologies.
Oh, Jimmy, that was very good. Very good. Thank you, sir. That had just the right amount of torching. Obviously, you could have diverted more towards Nate and Yeah, Nate didn't get much. He got called a hemorrhoidal skinny ass, but other than that, that was it. So anyways, all right, let's get into the show. Thank you for that, Jimmy. 5-star review. It's roast season, people. April 15th is when these are due by.
All right, so in other news, Monday last week, February the 24th, there was an article that came out, price of crude as at its highest level in a month.
That did not age well.
That did not age well. So that was my Monday article. I popped it in, and I kept on going about my business. We were at $53 closing out that Friday before, and the week just did not go in the direction we would have wanted it to. So I have a couple of articles here just to follow up on the way the week worked out. And as we all know, oil prices started to take a tumble. So 25th, the next day, oil dives after CDC warns of impending virus outbreak in the U.S. And oil plummets 16% in its worst week since the financial crisis. That's on the 28th. So those two articles kind of sandwiched the week. So it started great.
Kind of this podcast. It started off good, and then Jimmy came in with a tomahawk missile and just nuked us. Just bang.
Yeah, just tore us up.
Slaughtered.
We talked about anniversary, 3 years, been doing this. Almost reminisced over some good points. We didn't, and then Jimmy comes in.
Happy birthday, guys. You suck.
Yeah, thanks. And yeah, I appreciate that. So Josh, we are up right now at the time of this recording, at least, which is 10 o'clock on Monday morning. We're up $1.50, I think, or no. We're up 3% this morning. So
yeah,
it was down.
20. It was.
It did get a
43.
44.76 on Friday. Yeah, so we're at 46.34 right now. So drill, baby, drill. Is that what we're saying? Not quite ready to put the bumper stickers back out there, huh?
Yeah, so I mean, we talked a little bit about this coronavirus, Ryan, and the original thought was this really shouldn't have that big of an impact on the market.
Yeah, that didn't age well either.
That didn't age well.
Which aged worse, our comment on that or the crude hits the all-time high? I mean, the really high. I think our comment is probably the worst of the two there.
Yeah.
Did not age well.
Yeah, the coronavirus is been a catastrophe. So, Ryan, we always talk about how some of the people in the stock market, how they can take North Korea says they're going to meet with Trump in 6 years, and oil price responds.
Mm-hmm.
So there are things that with the market that are volatile, but sometimes we don't account for how powerful that can be, and the way the market is responding to this virus is definitely putting pressure on a lot of E&P companies.
Well, yeah, if you go back here, so obviously this isn't we were, whatever we said about it, if we diminished it, we were wrong, because obviously the impact's there. So let's kind of recap the thinking, though, so we can get up to speed. Originally, it kind of came out, and the rate it was spreading at, it seemed to be at a lower pace than what you would see with SARS or something like that. And the death rate was really low, and the death rate still is really low. We'll get to that in a second. So you go, okay, China may shut down for a little bit, and then things will kind of get back to normal. But what we're seeing now is, and we're talking about, I don't know if we're talking about death, but CERAWeek is getting canceled this week, and you're seeing people, not doing things. Well, that actually starts to have an impact on the supply, because the demand is literally weakening. Like, it's less demand because people aren't doing stuff. And so we're starting to see that at scale now. And so at the same time, what you're not seeing is 100 rigs come off the market to balance that out. So if you had, I don't know what the magic number is, 50, 100, whatever, 25, I don't know, whatever the X number of rigs come off the market overnight, well, the price wouldn't take the hit, but that's not what's happening. So you're seeing maybe a few rigs here. We'll talk about in a minute with the Alpine High stuff, but you're not seeing that, and so the strain on demand is longer than than we definitely initially thought it would be, and it's getting a little bit more widespread. And now we're kind of in the hype period where it feels like we've had, 2 deaths in the U.S. now, I believe, one this morning and one last week. But both of those were high-risk patients that were I hate to say old, but older folks. And that seems to be who the virus mainly kills. Most people that get it, and it sucks for whatever it is, a week or 2, and then 3 weeks, whatever it is, and they go about their business. So it doesn't seem to be a catastrophic death rate. And I'll put perspective. I was listening to, the BBC has a BBC in Africa podcast, and they were talking about, last week maybe, Nigeria, I can't remember, one of those Western African nations. And they said, are the people there concerned? And they're like, no, we had Ebola. This is nothing. So, there's certain parts of the world that look at this and go, okay, well, we don't want it here, but compared to some of the diseases we've dealt with, this really isn't that bad. The problem is, though, even though the death rate isn't that high, Josh, the market reaction is substantial. And so you can't deny that at this point. And, how long will it go? I don't know. How will it impact these companies? I don't know. But we do know it is something that we had to sit here and kind of ride out. We got a call from one of our clients the other day saying, hey, prices are low. We're going to have to sit down and talk about some restructuring of things because the price is just too dang low. And so the best thing would be is for things to return back to normal as soon as possible. Because what we don't want to happen, especially from our listener standpoint, what we don't want to happen is rigs start falling off. So there's two ways to solve it, right? You increase the demand. Okay, the demand comes back up, and you start putting a hit on the supply, or you start siphoning from the supply or lowering what's going into supply to match the demand. Well, if we lower the supply for us, that means less work, less jobs, less taxes to the government, all those things. And so we hope that it doesn't come to that. But if it goes on long enough, you might start to see some of that happen here in the great state of Texas and New Mexico.
You mentioned CERAWeek. That is a conference that they usually have every March. IHS market organizers, they canceled the event Sunday due to fears of growing number of coronavirus cases around the world. So
I hate to do it. I think Sergio broke the story though, so we'll give him an attaboy.
Yeah. So yeah.
Good job, Sergio.
Yeah. Well,
there
you go, Sergio. You're back.
And
back
this is where you see the impact on demand. I mean, this pulls people from all over the country. This is lots of not only money being invested.
Right. It's a microcosm of the larger problem. Right. You start seeing international folks, because this is, as you mentioned, it's an international conference. Folks flying into Houston. And they're like, okay, we're not going to do that. Well, if they're not doing that, and they are the elite, then the common guy's like, God, if this guy don't want to do it, and he's scared of getting the coronavirus, then I probably don't want to do it too, right? This makes sense that people would think that way. So as you see cancellations of events like these, that does trickle down to the regular person because they're going to go, well, good gosh, this guy went flying for some big ritzy conference and rub elbows and all that stuff, then I definitely don't want to get it.
It makes me wonder too. So right now, with the way the president is handling the coronavirus in the country, he's downplaying the severity of it and the way it's impacting the country. And in many ways, so a lot of people on the left criticize him for the way he's handling it because he's not being aggressive enough. He's not going into the hype. I mean, if people were to take him seriously, would the market stop responding the way they are?
Well, if you take him seriously, the market, I think, is worse. I mean, you really only have a couple options, right? The first option is clean your hands, because we don't have a vaccination, so clean your hands, and go live your life normally, but clean your hands. Okay, so that's one option. And the mask deal, just so everybody's clear, the mask is to prevent the spreading of it, not from getting it. So the mask, you say get a mask, clean your hands, but go about your life as normal. Okay. That would have the least impact on the economy. But everything other than that starts to slow the economy down. Stay at home. Don't send your kids to school. Don't go to work. Don't buy, right? So if you treat it, and I don't know what the media is like the dumbest folks on earth, so I don't listen to them, but I don't know they won't. But what you would see is the demand would be worse. It would lessen. And so if the United States just duplicated what China did, instituted martial law, oil prices would be done. Like it'd be cataclysmic because all of a sudden then the U.S. economy would go whoop. We'd be having to get Uber Eats and all this kind of crap, delivered. It'd be terrible. So yeah, when the media says, well, we want to do more, well, what do you want to do more? Because if you want them to lock everyone in, shut the borders down, lock everyone in, and do like China kind of did, well, okay, that's fine, but just realize that's really going to be a bad thing. And then what's going to happen, just kind of run this out, let's play this out more than the next 3 months. If the price dropped to 20, which I don't think anyone thinks it is, but it could, anything can happen. It drops to 20 for a substantial amount of time. You start seeing companies go off the market, right? Prices start to fall. Companies can't afford. You have massive bankruptcies. Well, eventually this coronavirus is going to go away. It's not going to be, what's the 1918 pandemic or 1911 pandemic? What was the last one they had? It had the 3-cycle deal anyways.
Yeah, Spanish flu, 1918.
Yeah, 1918. So, they kind of had a 3-cycle deal. I don't think there's any reason to believe it's going to be as bad as that or anything nearly that bad. But let's just start working this out. So, summertime comes around. Usually the flu goes away. We don't know if the coronavirus will go away in the flu time or not. But, okay, let's just say it does. Okay, well, people start going back to work, and it's vacation time, and then you got school that you missed, and all of a sudden now you have a lot of demand coming back on the market. You potentially quit drilling, which means that you're going to have a supply shortage, right? So you can see where an overreaction one way could actually really be a boost for oil prices. But the one thing we talked about since we started the show, Josh, consistent level prices is the best thing for the industry. And prices getting down to this range. I don't watch the prices too much, but this is kind of the range where you go, oh man, you're going to start to see the headlines. We said 50 to 55 aren't great, but they're doable. It's where everything kind of stays normal. You get to the 40 to 45 range, you're going to start to see the headlines shift if they're prolonged for that period of time. So hopefully, we'll have some good news on the coronavirus front. I'll say for me personally, I got a trip tentatively scheduled to Africa, and I'm still planning on going. So that's me personally. So I'm not going to Africa because of the coronavirus. And so unless they don't want me to come or something like that happens, but I plan to go. It's not going to stop what I'm doing. And so I think the leaders need to also keep in mind that, hey, and I'm not obviously comparing myself to them at all. I'm trying to make the analogy, but I'm just saying that people need to consider if Josh is your buddy and he's like, hey, I'm not going somewhere because of the coronavirus, that's going to have an impact on you. Because I may go, well, dang, if Josh ain't going, then I don't want to go. So it just gets magnified when you look at these folks at Sarah Week. And so just keep that in mind, folks, when you're out there. Just make sure you're doing what's best for you and your family, of course. I'm not telling you what to do. But also remember that the death rate is pretty insignificant. And so if you get sick and die, don't call me also. That's Nate's fault.
Yeah. So there was another article that came out. Apache calls it quits on Alpine High after a $3 billion charge. So
they could have given it to us.
I would take it. I would take just, half of it. Be fine.
We've been here week over week for 3 years now. We broke this story. How did we break it? We talked about the story when it came out on our show, remember?
Mm-hmm. I do. Yeah, so we pulled up some numbers, and how many rigs do they have running out there, Ryan, in Alpine High?
I think Nate looked it up this morning. We had 10 in the Permian, 5 of which were dedicated to Alpine High, is what they'd said.
12 in the Permian, actually, but that was...
Five to Alpine High?
Yeah.
So I don't know if I haven't read what they've said what they're going to do with those 5 rigs, if they're going to move them to somewhere else, if they're going to, wind them down, or I don't know what's going to happen with those 5 rigs, but that's 5 rigs coming off the market. Of course, it's not 5 rigs that are flowing, tons of barrels of oil either. That's the problem. It's not like it's high quality rigs because Apache would keep doing it. And this is, I've heard, and this isn't no insider information. I've heard from people who know better than me for a while that the Alpine High stuff was kind of shaky, and so I'd kind of wondered, and there was media reports about it. Again, this isn't any kind of special inside baseball here. I just had kind of heard some stuff, and you always kind of wonder, is this really as bad as they think it is, or not? A lot of smart folks over at Apache, so hate it didn't work out for them, and I think they're moving to offshore folks now, right? And that's going to be not explicitly, but they're changing to look more towards offshore. I think that's what I read.
Yeah. They're going to Egypt and one other spot that they're going to be targeting. So one of my questions, Ryan, obviously if gas prices was $10, it would have been successful. But I wonder, given where prices were when they originally made their predictions, I don't think gas prices was really the main problem there. What they're saying is that the improvements, the productivity improvements that they were expecting just never materialized. And I wonder if they know why. Like, what was the cause? I know they talk about the ability to transport and have an infrastructure there, but at some level there was a problem with the production, that they just didn't have the production improvements they needed. I wonder if that had to do with sort of rock, or was it due to just not having as much reserves like in the ground? Was it cost too much to get it out? Or that's some of the stuff that we really...
Well, if you go back real quick, just to cut you off, if you go back to March 10th, let's pull some up real quick. March 10th, the natural gas prices was $3. Today it's $1.73.
Yeah, that could have something to do with it.
It obviously didn't help it. But yeah, the ratio, I think go back to what Anas said. What he was talking about the crude quality and the shale quality. It looks like they got hit from both sides on that deal. Yeah. They didn't have good crude. They didn't have good quality crude, and they also had low quality shale as far as the ratio.
So I saw a tweet by Anas where he said that he would not be surprised if oil prices rebounded to where they were last week by the end of this week.
Hey.
So that's a glimmer of hope for you. If it's wrong, tweet Anas.
Hey. Speaking of Glimmer of Hope, this week Nathan will be working on the Speakner series. We have been storing up a plethora of Speakner text on that he's sent in, and so they are gems. And so hopefully we'll start releasing those. We're not sure exactly how we're going to do it, but we're going to probably maybe a little dramatized. What's the word I'm looking for? Big word here, fellas. Can you help? Not Josh, but Nate.
Dramatize, yeah.
Dramatize. Maybe a little music. I don't know. We're going to figure out how we're going to do it, but it should be good and interesting, and you get to hear what Speakner says. We figured that'd be a good way to not have to interrupt the show for all of his Prophet of Doom stuff, but he has some good ones. So
amazing things.
So be sure we'll put that on the LinkedIn page, and you guys can check out Speakner Prophet of Doom newest series. And we do have an announcement we're working on, and if we get pull this off, Speakner said that he will reveal his name to us, so we will get to find out who the mythical Speakner is. And so the question is he older than 14 years old? Because we've talked about this. Speakner could be the 14-year-old with the Robinhood account who's just like crushing it and doing it, or on the opposite in the spectrum, he could be Carl Icahn. It's somewhere in between. He could be Buffett. This could be Buffett, reaching in, and so. I'm not sure which one of those he is, and Speaker's probably going to murder me for saying he's a 14-year-old boy, but but there it is. So be sure to check that out.
Well, our buddy David Blackmon, he had 2 articles that came out with Forbes this week. The first one came out on Monday, the 24th, and here he talks about, life outside the Permian, new report shows other U.S. crude oil basins stagnating. So he mentions the Rockies and the Bakken in focus, and he talks about the difficulties in the Bakken because of the constrained price environment. And he mentions a few other plays and how the Permian is really where most of the focus continues to remain. Like I said, that came out Monday the 24th, so that was the same day that oil prices were at their highest in a month. He released another article on the 26th, and it is the oil and gas situation. Time for alarm has arrived.
Dang it, David. You know what? I was holding on until David Blackmon put this out. And it's like, okay, well, David's saying it. The end is near. Then David says it, that we shall run to the hills.
Yeah, and he's usually not one to say that too quickly. So he says, even he starts it off, I'm no fan of alarmism, whether it be about energy, environment, or any other subject. The situation for the domestic oil and gas industry has grown somewhat alarming over the past 2 months. Since early January, S&P Oil and Gas Index has plunged 32%. So there's a couple of quotes in here. The one at the end, Ron, is particularly noteworthy, where he says, as reported by the Financial Times on Monday, Bank of America noted that U.S. energy stocks are now underperforming those in the S&P 500 by the biggest margin since the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor in December 1941. I'm not an expert.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
That's a long time. That's like 80 years. So
the Vaca Merker probably wasn't even going on back then.
Yeah, so not great news there.
We like having David on the show, but I'm not sure we can have him on anymore with that kind of stuff.
We got to retract that, all that, David. You got to put some good news out.
No, it is a piece, and I think the reality is if Anas is right and prices, I didn't see the tweets, I don't know. I'm just taking Josh's word for it here. Listener, beware. If Anas is right and the prices do rebound back to 55, then I think we can take a deep breath and go, okay, whew, here we go. But on the flip side, if you get around and you say, for some reason, let's just throw out some crazy hypotheticals that could happen. OPEC comes out this week. I think their meeting's on Thursday or Friday this week. They come out and go, we're going to increase drilling. Yeah, she ain't coming back. She gone. If you have like a massive inventory build and OPEC comes and says we're keeping drilling the same, prices could be trouble. What you want to see this week is a couple things. You want to see the inventories either not go up or level off. Just kind of not much of a change. You don't want to see a massive build. That wouldn't be good. And you also want to see news from OPEC that says that they're going to cut. Now, I hate saying the OPEC needs a cut because OPEC's over here looking at us going, you guys need a cut. So I understand that it's kind of hard to tell someone, hey, you need to give up money. But for the market standpoint, it would be good to see an OPEC cut, a substantial cut. And I don't know. I'm sure Ellen will have a lot of thoughts on what they're going to do on Energy Week this week. But, that's the kind of things you want to see. And the final thing you want to see is that the coronavirus, again, the tide's turning. Because as quick as this stuff builds up, it's gone overnight. I mean, it really is. So one day you wake up and you're like, oh, okay, remember Ebola? I mean, that was like doom, 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 doom. And then the guy in Dallas, I think, that died. And then it was like, fever pitch, Ebola. And you're like, okay, what's this Ebola deal? And the next thing you know, it's gone. And that's how most news stories are. I mean, most news stories, they build up and then they're gone. And so, hopefully I don't know what kind of story it needs to take, but if it's something from the Chinese government that says that they feel better about it or whatever, but those would be three things this week that you'd like to see to get the ball rolling back in the right direction.
So just for reference, OPEC meeting is March the 5th. That's Thursday.
Yeah, Thursday. Well, it'd probably be through the weekend.
Yeah. So we'll probably cover it Monday next week. We'll hopefully have some updates on it. The report that I saw, they're planning to cut 1.2 million barrels. We don't know that, so that's they may not. They may up it, so we never know what they're going to do. But that seems to be the expectation going into the meeting from what I saw. So Ryan, time for the roundup. Big shout out to Stephanie again this week.
Stephanie, the intern.
She sent us in a lot of articles, so we have a lot of things to cover.
It's funny how consistent and good she is at her job. I'm not going to throw out names. I'm not going to say anything. I'm just saying she's good and she's consistent. Stephanie, the intern. So Stephanie, thank you. I think we need to put a moratorium on roasting Stephanie. She's new to the show, so if you do send in the 5-star review of the roast, she can't take any heat. Now, you could say something like, wow, the show's quality has gone up since Stephanie came on. The articles we're actually learning about are so much better than when Josh was doing it. You could say something like that. That's okay. But I'm not trying to sway people one way or another. I'm a neutral party here.
So EOG aims to grow premium inventory and test new plays. So they are testing 6 oil and gas prospects this year. Kiyomichi was one. There was a couple of others. We'll link that in the show notes for you to check out. Oxy Petroleum reports $965 million loss in 2019. That's pretty common across the board. Fourth quarter 2019 was pretty tough. Centerpoint earnings double as interim CEO says he has no plans to step down. Here we are. Chesapeake Ryan, 27-cent stock. Isn't too cheap to sell. So Chesapeake was down to 27 cents on February 28th.
Hey, can we put together a fund, like, I don't know, $1 million and pump it up that thing? Like, listen, this is for entertainment purposes only, strictly here. But, we get like $1 million, buy a bunch of Chesapeake stock, and, get it up like, 30 cents or whatever it is, 10, 20 cents, and then sell it. A little pump and dump. I'm game in an entertainment purpose only aspect. Like, not, I mean, yes, for the sake of science and experimentation, modeling, we'd like to know.
Yeah. Well, you give me the $1 million, I'll take a 10% cut and handle all the work for you. I'll get it in and get it pumped, get it dumped, and Trump ready to end Chevron sanctions waiver in Venezuela. Not much to comment on here. Just wanted to note that it might be an interesting story to follow. A fracking ban would cost every American family $5,000 per year. I have no way of knowing.
How much?
5,000 per year, a fracking ban. So this is Texans for Natural Gas. There was an economic impact study that was done by API, and we can link this in the show notes. We may comment some more on this. This came out, I just saw it not too long ago, so I haven't had time to read the whole report. It's 12 pages, a fracking ban study. EIA expands data on capacity and usage of power plants, electricity, storage systems. We'll link that in the show notes if that's something you're interested in. Trafigura forms venture with Phillips 66 for Deepwater Texas oil port. So they said on Friday it had formed a joint venture with Phillips 66 to build a major deepwater port in Texas capable of handling super tankers. We haven't got an update on some of the port, Ryan. That would be something to make note of. We hadn't covered that in a couple of months, it seems like. Cheniere earned $648 million profit in 2019 amid growing natural gas demand. That's good news. E&P technology, flow assurance in the digital laboratory. So over the last several years, there have been an unprecedented increase in paraffin-related challenges in the world of production chemistry. As production of the easy-to-treat crude oil declines, industry is transitioning its focus to the more challenging crudes. Apache, layoffs impact Midland office. So not only did Apache pull out of Alpine High, back in October last year, they announced layoffs, and that is having some impacts on the Midland office. So this report kind of goes in some details about what's going on with the Midland office and some of the changes that are taking place. Apache reports surprise adjusted profit on higher shale output. So this February 26th is when this some of this reporting was done. So I'll link this in the show notes if you're interested in following some of Apache's news. This is a good thing to check out. And with that, Ryan, I think that wraps us up for today. Is there anything else we wanted to hit on before we wrap it up?
5-star review, roast this. If coronavirus stresses you out, oil prices stress you out, Josh and Vodka Merca stresses you out, whatever it might be, 5-star roast season is upon us. You have until tax day, April 15th, 2020. Happy 3-year anniversary, Josh. It's been a good 3-year run. Hopefully we're around for 3 more years. I didn't include Nathan in that, but hopefully me and you are around for another 3 more years. And until next time, keep climbing.